All right, so we are coming up upon the Day of the Dead, and there's a lot of events surrounding this in Newport and Newport County that begin actually, if you're listening to this on the day of release, they begin this weekend, but extend through the coming weekends. And I think before we go any further, we should set the table in terms of what the Day of the Dead is. I think a lot of people have a rough understanding, but maybe not an in-depth understanding. So if each of you would introduce yourselves, and then we'll kind of learn about what the Day of the Dead is, and then talk about what's happening here in Newport. So thanks for your time this morning.
Absolutely. My name is Rebekah Gomez. I'm the co-founder and executive director of Conexion Latina Newport here in Newport. And our work focuses on supporting the Hispanic community here in Newport and helping them break down barriers and build access and build leadership and build a presence in the city that they haven't always had.
My name is Yolanda Macias. I'm a co-founder also. And we are here to start talking about Dia de los Muertos, a little bit of history. Dia de los Muertos start around 1300 with all the cultures that we have in Latin America, like Aztec, Mexican, Totonaca, Purépecha. So they start doing the way to the Mictlan. Mictlan is a place that all the dead people goes to rest. So to get over there, to get on to Mictlan, the Mictlate weekly, that is the dead of the men of the dead, open that way to all the people go over there and rest in peace. So we start with that. Later after Cristobal Colon came and all the religious things, they just mix it up all together. And different cultures has different things to do in Latin America. So the basic things is they decorate the crypt.
Tombs.
Yes. And they put lights. They put the best food for the dead people, all the best things that they like to do in life. They just honor them or have a good time, they know where to have to be in the place. They clean they share with all the members of the family. They dancing, they prepare food. So it's kind of a festivity, remembrance to the memory of the deceased or the family member who deceased.
It's not a sad celebration at all.
Yes.
It's a festive celebration of life, I think.
Right. That's the big takeaway. And I think certainly in experiences I've had attending different events surrounding the Day of the Dead, whether it's here in Rhode Island or in New York or elsewhere, it is a festive celebration. It's also, I mean, this is like a really basic statement, but it's also very different than Halloween. And I think sometimes there's a tendency for, just, oh yeah, Halloween, Day of the Dead. It's this, there's a similarity, there's a complete overlap there, when in fact it's very different. And it's got a lot of cultural tradition that is unmatched by anything in sort of we'll call it global North perspective of Halloween. So, and it's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful celebration. It's a colorful celebration, and it's one that is very attractive, and magnetic. And it's the title would make some people say, oh, I don't want to go near that, because it's an area that a lot of us don't like to think about. But the reality is it's actually a celebration of life.
And the reality is creating these ofrendas or altars and bringing your past loved ones' favorite foods and favorite things and inviting their spirit to come back. Some people see it as, oh, I don't want to be around the spirits, but it's really a time to celebrate and I don't know, not to sound corny, but to let them see you celebrating them and to honor them.
Absolutely. So I want to get into some of the broad conversation for sure about the work that you do, your organization does as a whole. But let's start with just some of the upcoming Day of the Dead celebration activities, if you will, that are taking place in Newport County over the coming weeks.
Sure. So this is our second year collaborating with the Newport Art Museum on this project. Last year was really pretty amazing for our first year. So we're excited for this year. This Saturday, there's going to be a family art making project here in our office at Conexion Latina. That's Saturday, October 21st from 1 to 3. And families are invited to come. They'll be painting skulls. They'll be making cempasúchil. You need, for the celebration, you need literally thousands of these cempasúchil flowers. We will be doing papel picado. We'll be decorating skulls. We have all kinds of, art activities because we really want the children to be involved in it and enjoy it. And then next Saturday is Newport Art Museum's Free for All Saturday, which is an event they have, I believe, once a month. That's completely free. There's all kinds of activities and the galleries are open. And many of those activities will be focused around the Day of the Dead. They'll be making mini tablones or like tiny little mini altars or ofrendas, and also coloring skulls, decorating skulls, sugar skulls. And then during those 2 weeks, we at Conexion Latina will be building an ofrenda, just like we did last year. We invite anybody from the community, whether it be Hispanic community or non-Hispanic community, to bring pictures of their loved ones to put on our ofrenda. It will be right in the window of our office, and it really is a beautiful thing to see. And people can come by and enjoy it from the outside whenever they'd like. And then there will also be an ofrenda in Newport Art Museum, and there will be an event on November 1st. There'll actually be a presenter talking about the Day of the Dead. I believe we'll have a mariachi band. There'll be some food, more art making. And again, just that celebratory feel and that celebration of fall and of Day of the Dead, and just a whole lot of fun. I also just want to point out the mural behind us, which was made by the artist in residence, Orlando Almanza. He was at the Newport Art Museum in residence last year. And he came, they actually contacted him to make a mural here and a mural at the museum, but he worked so hard on ours, he ran out of time to do one at the museum. But he actually met with members of our community who had loved ones that had passed and listened to their stories about their loved ones and listened to them speak about them passionately, and then represented them in all of these paintings that he did on our wall, which, we're so lucky to have that living with us here in our space. And it's just a constant remembrance of those people, and as well as Day of the Dead all year. So we're really looking forward to this year's festivities and hope to continue this for years to come.
And there's great detail in terms of what's happening in this week's edition of Newport This Week. And if you're listening right now on the website, newportthisweek.com, it's an easy click. Otherwise, pick up the paper and you'll find some rundown, so to speak, and some great profiles, including our cover story here. So it leads me to a broader conversation that I think is really important to have, and we could do this for hours on end, which is advancing the Latino voice in Newport is something that is incredibly serious and incredibly important. And if you look at the history of Newport, politically speaking, whether it's elected officials, unelected officials, power in Newport has not been shared mutually across really many different demographics. And that certainly applies to the Latina community. There's no doubt about it. And there's a real need for the work that you do. The Day of the Dead celebrations are a fantastic opportunity to invite people into, from a cultural standpoint, your world, so to speak. And I say that in quotes because it's all of our world. It's a shared island here. We get, everyone understands that, I think, but
our culture.
Absolutely, your culture. But there's a gap. There's no other way to put it. I see it firsthand, and I know it's there, and it needs to be closed. So your message right now, as advocates for your community, as advocates for anybody who is intentionally or unintentionally marginalized in Newport right now. And again, I look at politics as a great litmus test, but it goes beyond politics. How important is it for Newport, a diverse community in terms of its makeup, to match and meet the moment in terms of representation and engagement across cultural barriers?
It is so important. If you look at the Newport Public School numbers, the percentage of Hispanic children outnumbers every other demographic in Newport schools. And it's really wonderful, and it's also really difficult. And we recognized that as the community grew, we recognized how hard it was for people to receive basic services, to register for school, go and make a doctor's appointment, go and get a marriage certificate or a birth certificate at City Hall, get an apartment, etc. So we got into it for those reasons. We concentrate most of our work on education, navigation, and healthcare navigation. But two of our biggest, kind of overarching goals is changing systems. So we're working with community organizations, the city, the schools, everything to change their systems effectively to meet everybody's needs, right? Not just the traditional needs that all Newporters have always had, because those needs change. But then the other big one, which I think I'm most passionate about, and what our Day of the Dead stuff kind of denotes, is to build that sense of belonging. We know that our community are the ones that hold up our tourism and our service industry here in Newport. And we don't want them to be thought of as just the people that work in the kitchens and the hotels and everything. They make up a large percentage of people here in Newport. They have power, but many of them haven't learned to utilize it effectively. And it's really important for us to build these opportunities and present these opportunities so everyone can celebrate together the right way. Right.
Yes.
So we had a festival a few weeks ago, and it was open to anybody to come, because we want everyone to see that it's an incredibly beautiful culture, incredibly joyous, incredibly festive. And we want everyone to be able to enjoy that. And at the same time, we want our community members to say, okay, we love enjoying and celebrating, but we also need to be able to have a word and a say in what's happening in Newport. We have a group of women. We have a women's group called Mujeres Poderosas, Strong Women, and they're learning from senators and organizers how to tell their story and how to organize into a powerful group, because the power of a group is so much stronger than the power of one. So I can go to the city hall or the school department anytime I want and complain about ABC, but if I grow with a group of 12 women behind me, they got to listen, right? So that's power. So that's our biggest goal, is to create that power and create space in the city for them to be part of decision making and the future of Newport.
Absolutely. And with that comes in very short time, potentially, if we look at Providence as a litmus test, where some 20 years ago, there was basically no Latino presence in city government. Now there's an overwhelming presence at the city council level. We've had 2 mayors in the last couple of decades that would fit that demographic profile. And even on the back end, on the activist side, on the advocate side, on the union side, the machine has shifted to embrace and frankly be led at times by members of the Latino and the Latina community. And Newport lacks that right now, but because of the work you're doing, I feel very strongly and positively that gap will be closed. And just kind of circling back here, because the next thing you know, it'll be 45 minutes and we'll be on this discussion. And I'd love to have a long form conversation on this at some point. Sure. But circling back to Day of the Dead celebrations, again, it's one moment in time, but it's a major one culturally. And it's an invitation not only to find some sort of activity, which is great. We're always looking for activities, whether it's the pumpkin patch or the street fair, there's always a need for activity. But there's another level, which is to open your mind to what's happening around you and understand and appreciate who lives in Newport.
Yes, and bringing children from all cultures together is the best way to do that, because they learn to build that cohesiveness from a young age, and it's going to just be a better thing for the city as a whole in the future.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you. I hope you enjoy your next weekend on this.
I hope you'll join us.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Bill.